investing in a particular property or not. And of course, this affects a number of people. It speaks to the investor, it speaks to the developer, it speaks to the property agent. Of course, there are different motivations for different people. For the investor, he's looking at the returns. What will my return look like? Any investment that you make, you are always looking out to say, will it be able to make money? And most importantly, because it's property, it's more of a long game. So it's not just about making money today. It's about, will it make money, be sustainable? And I think that has been it's one of the greatest motivation for the investor. One of the other motivation for the investor, it could just be they want to grow their equity. They want to be able to diversify whatever they already have, or diversify their investment. And they want to invest in something that is a bit much more predictable, something that would has much more longevity, and something that will not go bust tomorrow. And properties, it's quite a stable investment that you know that over time I mean, there could be ups and downs over a period. But if you are looking at it a long term, maybe over 10 years, you'll find that property has always proven to be one of the most resilient. Not only that, but it has proven to be one of the most profitable over time. So if it's equity investment or growth in equity that you are looking at, property remains one of those good investments to go for. So another motivator could be, we're looking at, if you are an estate agent, the motivation behind you understanding investment in property is to say, you need to be able to sell to an investor. And that becomes critical to understand, why would somebody buy this investment from you? Why would somebody buy this property from you? It's not just a home to the investor, it's an investment. And so therefore it becomes critical that you understand. So for the developers, I think I've covered the developers, I've covered the estate agents. Probably who else could we be looking at? I mean, an ordinary homeowner right now, people are becoming more investment savvy. They've come to realize that investing in property, it's the way to go. So that understanding will go a long way for everyone who's here. I'm hoping I've covered probably everyone. All the people who are here, you probably have interest one way or another in property and how you can be able to grow. So those who've been with us as mentees, we'll be looking at how can we refresh some of that knowledge for you. Are we still together? I just wanted to give that background before we go into detail. Any questions so far, or any comment before we go deeper? Okay. All right. Yeah, no. Okay, so we'll try to go much in detail. All right, allow me to just okay. Thank you once again, Rina, to Mr. Stolle, for the opportunity to be able to present this lecture today. Okay, so maybe one request, a lot of numbers. So Rina or somebody, I'll request that we interact. I don't have my calculator close to me, but I could be juggling different screens here on the same place, if you don't mind. But it will help if you do the numbers with me. So grab your calculator wherever you are. Let's try to make it a bit more practical for everyone. And to some, it's a refresher. So you know how it is. Where there are numbers, you need to. Right. Let's get started. The economics of property. So maybe just as a disclaimer, I'm not an economist. I'm a property investor. I'm passionate about property. Part of what you realize is that when you're passionate about something, you have to learn that particular thing. So that's how I've come to learn from this. I've got different mentors like your Dendi Matamera. There are a number of people that I draw knowledge and inspiration from. As we build this, from different projects that we work with, we're getting to learn some of the new things and how to best approach them. So it's really a combination of those. So if you look for quantification in economics, you won't find it. So this is not your, but it does talk to what is the economics behind. All right. Okay, so maybe let's start here before we go much more detail. Let's start here. What are the sectors that maybe we'll be zooming on? We have property, as you understand, it's very, very vast. One of the key one is residential, that we probably are mostly residential has different aspects. So we have your social housing. You've got your social. You've got your FLISP. You've got your affordable. Affordable housing.
Mr.
Got your... Hello. Oh, my apology. I'm going on, and I really apologize. Sorry. Yes. Can you all see this?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you, Bostole. I was going to just go on thinking that everybody can see what I'm doing. Okay, under residential, we've got social, we've got flavor housing, and we probably, so this is mostly for sale, the FLISP are mostly for sale, so you'll excuse my handwriting. Affordable housing would I would specifically look at rental. You could put FLISP as part of affordable housing. The only difference is that it's subsidized. So for anyone earning below 22,000, they will be able to by government when they buy a house, or whether it's an apartment, it's subsidized. So affordable housing, we are looking at a rental of about 6,000 rent per month. We are looking at, if it's for sale, we are looking at a property to the value of 600,000. So if you look at that, in terms of your affordability, as the bank will normally look at 30% of what you earn, right? So in terms of affordability, we are looking at somebody 30% of what a person earns. So this person, this category, we are looking at somebody who earns around 22,000. And if you look at 30% of that, how much will that be? Of 22,000 as a family income, how much will that be? Okay, that's about
9,000.
Roundabout. Is that correct? It's about how much?
9,000. Oh, sorry.
9,000.
Sorry. No, 6.6 is correct.
6.6.
6.6.
Yes, I'm also
Thank you.
6.6.
Okay, that's the right number. Okay, so So that's roundabout. If you look at this, this is more or less here in terms same as rent. If you are looking at buying, that's more or less right now. Of course, with the interest rate regime being lower, you will look at paying way more less than this, and that's a good thing, because what it means is more people who are earning less than 22,000 now can be able to afford a 600,000 rent house, or 600,000 property, or 600,000 apartment. The biggest issue now is the parallels. We always, one way or another, and this is something that I want you to across when we do this exercise, look at it as a same parallel. So we're going to use, if you use 10% interest rate, you are looking at 6,000 rand per month as a bond, right? Now, because it's lower, you're going to pay a little bit less than, of course, 6,000. But the parallels, a taxi fare, normally the biggest challenge, though in the bigger scheme of things, you'd find that when interest, the right economy says, or economics says, it's about demand and supply. So right now, with lower interest rate, it means more people can be able to afford that could not afford to buy. That imply in terms of rental. If the demand in sale increases, what should it mean in terms of rental? Ideally, it's supposed to go lower, correct? Because if people, instead of renting, if I can afford to pay less on the similar type of apartment through a bond, I would definitely go for a bond. Of course, the dynamic on a linear line, of course, the dynamics of that is that when the economy is not doing well right now, you have a situation where you have a cohort of people who have lost their jobs. You have a cohort of people who maybe for a while they've not been doing well. I mean, beside COVID, we've had an economy literally not doing well way before, since last year, or since the past few years, our economy has not been growing. From last year, serious decline. Beginning of this year, we were hit by the junk status, now coming from different, even other different guys, the Moody's and all those. Now everybody was now on board, so it was clear. Now we are junk status. That was March. Now, just a few weeks after that, lockdown happened. When lockdown happened, it meant it's literally not functional. People were not going to work. Those were in rental. They were stuck. You couldn't evict anyone. It means a bad payer. And what naturally happened, and we see this even when we go to schools, to the AGMs at schools, that people decided they stopped paying. So if people stop paying school fees, which is more critical, even rent, majority of them stopped paying, not because some of them could not afford. It was just on the basis that, you know what, right now we are in lockdown, nobody's doing anything. So all those effects have come at play. So remember, the principle should be, when there's an increase in the demand of houses, or when there's more affordable houses to buy, it should definitely affect the rental. So it means you can't put the rental high. The rental price ultimately has to go slow. There will be a slow. But these different factors, your COVID, your economy not doing very well, and all that, definitely have a different effect on the rental. So it means somebody who ideally could afford, now all of a sudden, because they lost their job and all those things, they may not necessarily even have the good credit rating to be able to get a bond, for instance, because it's not just because you can afford, it also goes with the credit rating. In the affordable market, a lot of people have debts, a lot of people, simply because the economy has not been doing well, people just went overboard with their debts. When things, the company starts cutting out on the pay, all of a sudden you can't pay your credit card. All those issues, they come at play and they affect. That's what keeps at least the rental to still be buoyant at this time. I hope I'm making sense. Other than that, it should be an adverse effect, right? So I want you to note these numbers. What we are going to do here is to lay out a principle. Even when factors change, we are able to work, it remains the same across. We can just change numbers from time to time, but the principle will remain the same. Any questions so far?
All clear.
Thank you. Sounds good. Okay, so, right. So if you are going to buy, let's say you buy a property today, 600,000, like we said, what are the implications every month? What will you be paying every month?
You have to pay the bond.
The bond.
Rates and taxes. Insurance.
Okay, rates and taxes. Insurance. Maintenance.
Or levies.
Levies. Correct?
Yeah.
Electricity. Or let me just say water and lights, just to.
Yeah. Utilities.
Yeah, utilities. What else? So we will assume your security, it's part of your levies. It's a standalone house. Of course, you will pay also added security, your ADT and all of those. But insurance, your maintenance, they all remain. Your rates and taxes is the municipality. Your bond, it's when you are paying. So now think about it this way. Now,
there's management
yes?
costs if you are having a property manager.
Right. Right. Management costs if you're going to have a property manager. And so that's assuming, okay, let's do this. That's assuming that if maybe you are doing it as a rental, and yeah. So the moment we finish talking, can I ask that we go back to mute? Okay, so all these factors here, would you agree with me that all these things, your rates and taxes, your insurance, your maintenance, your levies, water and lights, your management costs, all these things are add-on. So you are expected to pay your bond plus these other costs. Correct. So it's your bond every month and these other costs. This rent for now so that it doesn't confuse things. So this is the burden of buying, of owning. The moment you own this property, these expenses, all of them, you start to attract them. If you decide to then rent it out, it does not excuse you from some of them. For instance, you can only maybe get away with water and lights, which the person can come, and that's not always everywhere. The person who's coming to rent could pay that because it's a pay as you go. still on you, your maintenance is still on you, your insurance is still on you, your rates and taxes is still on you, your management costs still, it's your basically your burden. So one way or another, you do not run away from expenses. And those are some of the things that when we see people losing out on their homes, especially first buyers, the biggest challenge is that they have not taken into account, when they looked at affordability, they only looked at that 6,000 that they're supposed to pay as bond. Yes, the installment. But they have not taken into account your rates and taxes. I mean, I know that your levies, for instance, this one differ from estate to estate. So not all estates charge the same. And I'm happy one of the things these guys are doing, Baldwin guys, they are putting, it's actually a very low rate of levies that I've seen actually in a long time. But estates are can be, the more affluent it is, it actually gets much more expensive. So Baldwin guys are really pushing to look at especially the affordable market and a little bit of middle class. They are looking at making sure they cover for that. Part of it is to realize that these things can actually be expensive. Now, rule of thumb, we are looking at these things coming at around 30% minimum. And this is to say, in a normal business, you are looking at capping your expenses to be able to have your business being profitable. You are looking at capping your expenses at around 30%, and then your business will still be much more sustainable. This is now when you add whatever bond you are paying, so it means it's your bond plus your 30% of your expenses. Now, these things, as I said, they vary. Hence, I'm putting it at minimum. They vary. With price of things being high or increasing, having increased, you'd find that even these expenses, one way or another, have gone up. I mean, Eskom has always been, though the CPI is a bit low currently, but Eskom has not lowered its costs. It's been increasing year after year. They went again to ask for an increase in electricity. It's the same thing even with the municipality. It's increasing. So all those things, the burden of government, it's falling on individuals, literally, on a daily basis. So while overall costs, the CPI may seem to be low, but the reality is effectively we are paying more on things, on goods and services and all those kind of things. Our standard of living has not, we are paying more for our lifestyle than we used to a year ago or 2 years ago. So all these 30%, it's really, again, I'm laying this out as a principle. The reason I'm emphasizing this is so that you may realize, you should realize that the cost may be even higher. They will vary from place to place. Okay, so we have what we call your debt cover ratio. What am I doing? Sorry. Your debt cover ratio. In a business, yes.
Sorry to disturb. So I had thought, based on the previous scribblings that you wrote up there, I had thought that this 30% is only attributed to the bond. So you are saying that in business, for you to stay afloat, all these expenses must be within the 30%.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's your extra expenses. That's actually a rule of thumb. Good business that is doing well, it doesn't have too many expenses. The moment you go beyond that 30%, you're starting to be in milky waters. Especially because you have these other costs. Normally to run business, it's assumed that you will always, to be able to do well, you will always have to borrow money to be able to do business very well. So if you add the price of paying your debts, you add your interest rates, you add now even your expenses, you'd find that it starts to become, your business will start to be shaky. So you want to cap your expenses overall to around 30%.
Thank you.
Having said that, if you go to student accommodation, thank you, Bostol. If you go to student accommodation, which is one of the things that I think when I mentioned here, it also falls under this category of residential, which I think around the room, there's probably interest in that. You'd find that your expenses now starts to shoot above. They go around 35%. They go to around even 40%. Of course, depending on the, that will also, it starts to increase, because your electricity, it's also inherent. You pay for that yourself as a business owner or as a landlord on behalf of the students. If you are doing accredited funding, like with NSFAS, for instance, they pay you the money. They want a student to have Wi-Fi, to have furniture. Okay, furniture, of course, is capital cost. In terms of expenses, you are talking your Wi-Fi. If you are you are talking your transport, which may differ depending on the distance. So it means the price can actually be higher if you are further and further away, but you are looking at 20 kilometers limit. If you now add your laundry, that's another added cost. You now add, I've included your Wi-Fi. So all these things, they come at a higher cost. Now we've actually come to realize that with students doing online, when you're having a student accommodation, the same work when most of them were going to classes. Now with everybody, one day or a few days not being in class physically, they have to do online classes. You find that your bandwidth start to be consumed a lot, because you're having everybody streaming, most of them streaming at the same time. So you can't use the same bandwidth as you used to do before. So the expenses starts to stack up. Okay, so we have then, therefore, what we call a debt cover ratio. In terms of development, we are looking at a debt cover ratio of 1.3. So essentially what it means is the one is, it's this one. So this one, let me use the colors so that it can just, it's 1.3. So the 3 is the 30%, which is 0.3. The 1 is this one, which is the bond that you'll be paying. Does it make sense? So 1.3 is your debt cover. Simply means, this ratio simply means your ability to cover your debt. Your debt includes your expenses on a monthly basis. So it's not just to pay your bond, but to cover all debts related to that, to the main debt. Your main debt is your bond, then the other expenses is 30% more. Okay, so I'll draw.
Sorry, Moses.
So, yes.
Sorry, Moses. This is a very crucial point. The 30% and then the debt cover ratio 1.3. Please go back and explain against the 30%. You said we should try and keep expenses at 30% or below. 30% of what? Is it the bond that you're paying per month?
Yes.
Or the,
yes.
Okay.
So it's 30%. No, so
of bond you're paying per month.
No. Sorry, Alex. Let me put it this way.
Okay.
You are looking. Remember, now we are now looking at it as a business. To say as a business, to make sure that you are doing well and you are profitable. So a business has to bring money. So 30% of what you make literally needs to be around your expenses. So when your expenses are more than 30% of what you make, what you collect, or your income, basically.
Okay.
That's what it means. So that the expenses, which we are saying it's 30% of what you are collecting. If it's rental, whatever rent you are collecting, 30% of that needs to go towards your expenses. Make sense?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So if you look at it this way, now if we use the 1.3, we are therefore going to say this is your monthly payment, which is 6,000. We multiply it by 1.3. It will give us a figure. So your 6,000, which is bond, if you flip it on the other hand, remember affordable rental, we said your rental is around 6,000. You remember, so your rental, you are looking at 6,000 as your income that you can make on this particular property. So you bought 600,000, you're going to pay 6,000 as a bond, but because of the targeting affordable, you are looking at around 6,000. So now here is, I'm laying out a principle. In real life, what you are supposed to do then is to say, in a particular area, if it's an affordable area, you will realize that the rent will be going between your 5,500, 6,000, ranging up to maybe 6,600. In some areas like your mid-rent, which is a bit of a mix, you'd find that it can go if 10,000, sometimes 8,000 for a two-bedroom unit. A two-bedroom unit, a 600,000, that's mostly around two-bedroom unit. Now, we are going to use this, and I think across the board, two-bedroom unit would be our standard across this exercise, which is around about 600. Once you go beyond that, you go to three-bedroom, you'd find that to get it at 600,000, it's actually very difficult, especially in the current market. Now, so you will come and say, here is your rent, 6,000 is your rent, multiply by 1.3, which you are saying, I need to at least be able to cover 30% of the expenses. This is what this statement means. Whatever I make, 30% of that I need to be able to cover every month. So how much will this be? 6,000 multiplied by 1.3.
7,800.
100. Now, it means effectively, if you want to break even, you need to charge a rent of 7,800. This allows you to cover for your expenses and your bond, which is 6,000. Do we agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, here is the dilemma. 7,800, it's now more than our affordable, which is per month. So it means the moment you add your expenses of 30%, it now pushes you outside of the market. So what do? There are two ways to it. You either have to charge a lower rent, go back to 6,000, which means if you charge 6,000, you will have to subsidize the 30% expenses. We agree?
Yeah.
Now, that's not a good business to do. And most of the people out there, they will tell you if you buy a property for rental, you will need one way or another to subsidize it. And you have to wait for years. This is what I've found, and you can do the calculations. It will take you, if you buy a single house or a single apartment and rent it out, where you have to subsidize, actually to recover the money, say you buy it cash, to recover the money property, it will take you almost 10 years to recover the same money that you've used to buy that property cash. So if you didn't buy it cash, it's even worse when you are subsidizing, because it means you are always you are below the water every month until maybe at least from year 3. Now, if those who are in estate agents will tell you that right now to increase rental by more than 5%, So it means if you are in conditions like what are prevailing now, it will take you probably even 4 years to be able to get to a point where you break even, because already the increments every year are very low anyway to be able to cover what you're already losing every month. So this is one way. The other way is to achieve this 6,000, you either have to be willing to subsidize, which we all agree it's not a good way to do business. Number two, you buy below market. So it means you have to buy that property below 600. Does it make sense? If you bought it below 600, it will allow you at least to be able to break even. I'll show you through the numbers quickly. The other way is...
Moses?
Hello?
Yes, Moses, I think I don't understand something.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I can hear you.
All right. So you're saying that the 7,800, because it's obviously now above the 30% allowed for affordable housing. Somehow, as the property investor, you'll have to subsidize. So why do we have to go to that length when these people are applying for their bond approvals? It does not take into account the levies payable and the municipal rates and taxes and all that. It only takes into account the total amount you are applying towards the bond, which will go to probably that 600. So they give you a bond, flip, whether it's a flip subsidized, but it will come to that affordable housing total without taking any consideration of any other extra expenditure that you will incur for buying that house. So why should I worry about that as an investor? Because these people will buy their own water anyway. They will buy their own electricity anyway.
So like I said,
I should be subsidizing.
Okay, so that's why I'm saying, because of the market, that's the challenge that we are facing, that one way or another, the market dictates that if you are looking at somebody within that range of affordable, if that's the target, right? The moment you charge above 7,000, the moment you charge 7,800, you are now going to a higher market. And the question is, if you are going to charge 7,800, does it justify that 2-bedroom? Because that's a higher market that feels that, look, I would rather be paying more to get a 3-bedroom, where in a much affluent, which has the better, which is actually even bigger in size. Right now, here we are looking at somewhere between 250 square meters in size.
Yeah.
So it's not actually even that big for that matter. So now the dynamics are, the moment you charge more, you are moving into a territory where somebody will be willing to put a little 200 more and get a higher, a bigger sized unit, and maybe with better finishes.
Okay. So, but anyway, going to that unit again, you are still going to incur more cost. So I don't know. My feeling is, why don't we just tell these people in advance of all the other extra expenditures that they will incur when they buy a house? Because even if they go to a better one in a more affluent area, those levies and everything else, it's higher than this one.
Yes. Yeah.
And when they're applying for a bond, it does not take consideration of any other added expenditure. The affordable housing, it's only referring to the total bond approval, including the flips.
Yes.
So I feel like
I
don't have to worry about, I don't have to worry, and I don't have to subsidize. They already will have to incur that cost wherever they go.
Okay. Moses, can also contribute?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I think one other important factor we should also consider as investors is the fact that there are certain costs that can be borne by the people who are renting, and there are certain costs that have to be borne by the landlord. Things like levies, for example, this means a cost for the landlord. If the total that we are collecting as a rental does not necessarily cover everything, it's the responsibility of the landlord, which is the investor in this case, to actually cover it. Whether the tenant is going to go to another area and so on and so forth, it's still immaterial because it's not the cost to the tenant. But I think we need to to have that in mind,
I agree.
We discuss.
Actually, you got it right. Thank you very much. So what I think the transformation here that we need to appreciate, thank you very much. I appreciate that point, because I think that brings a better clarity. So here is the deal. You are coming from a point where, first of all, you are the buyer. This is an investor, right? You are the buyer.
Yeah.
You go. The moment you've bought the property, you now become a landlord. Still the investor. So at the point of buying, you buy based on the prices that are in the market. That's where we are here. You buy there. That's where you are looking at. This is a 2-bedroom unit in the market. How much is it going for? Now, what's critical is that when you buy, get it to say, I'm not buying to stay, I'm buying to rent out as a landlord, right? It means when I now rent it out, I still need to be able to make a profit afterwards. If I'm buying to just stay, like Patricia was saying, for people who are buying to just stay, they will have to take into account those expenses. It's their own expenses. Really, it's not subsidy. But the moment you become a landlord, you now have to think about it to say, I'm here. When they come, they rent. It's not, how do I put it? Rental, unfortunately, it's not like your negotiated price where every time we say, no, we'll negotiate how much rent. No, there is a market rental in the area that you need to look at. So we are not controlling generally to say, I'll decide how much rent I want. It's generally people who come to rent, they will be saying, how much is the rental in the, they will say they will want even to negotiate to go lower than even the market price, especially under the current conditions. So now I'm saying, as an investor, you need to take into account both to say, how do I make sure that the property that I buy is able to make money for me through rental and still make profit without me subsidizing? And that's where we are here to say you either, hello?
Yes, I think now I'm clear on what you're saying, because I think maybe we were not talking about the same thing. I was more onto a person who is buying, and I think you were more on a person who is buying and renting it out. I think now you have cleared it, and I understand, because I agree with you now to say when the person is buying, then they will have to bear the cost. But if you buy and rent it out, as the landlord, you will have to then bear certain costs.
That costs, yes. So, and in this case, we are saying the only thing that you may not really pay is water and lights. But the rest of these costs, expenses, they are going to come from your pocket. So you want to make sure that it covers for those, so that you don't then be subsidizing. However, the market conditions are against you. If you bought it for 600,000, you are looking at a rental of 6,000, because that's where the market is. A rental of 6,000. However, 6,000, it's not enough to cover your expenses. So you either have to subsidize or you go and buy that unit below. So if you, instead of buying it for 600,000, so 600,000, we use divide by 1.3. How much is that?
$4,615.
4,600 and no, something is missing. It has to be in thousands.
600,000, eh?
It's 461,538.
There you go. So it's 461,538. So you need to either have bought it at around that price, then it will justify it will justify being able to raise that kind of money. If you rent it out at this, so let me do it in a simpler way so that it will make sense. Back a little bit, you either subsidize or buy below market or build. So when you build, you are definitely going to build it below market. Now, as the proposition here is you either buy it as a distressed property, which will be cheaper, or negotiate a better price. It will then work out for you because you would have bought it way below market. Now, build it yourself. Build it yourself, it means now you become a developer. And I think that's the best proposition for me to say, for you to be able to move into like a rental market as an investor, one of the best ways is to develop the property yourself. Then you are able to contain the cost because the moment you buy something in the market, think about it as buying from a wholesaler versus buying from ShopRite Checkers. I normally look at it. Something that you buy at a retailer, it already has added costs. But if you go to the wholesaler or to the manufacturer, you'll find it at a cheaper price. And that's normally what I look at in terms of the rental market. So the forces are against you. The best way to do it and still be profitable, you either have to build it yourself or you have to go and buy it as a distressed property. That means below market. Now we're going to use this 1.3 debt cover ratio as a measure. So if you think about it, here is our 600,000 and here is our 6,000. So on the sales side, on the rental side. So if you look at the sales side, to go below, if you want to, you multiply by 1.3, it will take you to 7, which is what we have done here. We said 6,000 rental, multiply by 1.3, it will be 6,800. 7,800, is that correct? Yes, 7,800. It's around above our market. Now, to go lower, what do? We divide by 1.3, which will give us 4,615, I think, right? 6,000 divided by 1. Help me out. I think that's correct. So if you do the same for sale, you buy below market. So this is the market. To buy below, we divide by 1.3. That's a factor that we are using. And we are looking at what was that? 461,538. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does.
on the sale side.
Yes.
So in other words, if you buy it at 461, you can rent it out at that. So simply put, you will say 6,000. You will then now say 4,000. So if you divide this, we are looking at divide. That's 4,615, basically. That's 10%. You multiply this by 1.3, it will give you 6,000. I hope I have not lost anyone.
What's all together?
Okay, thank you. So that's the essence of this. To be market, you need to divide by 1.3. So rule of thumb, what do we do? Rule of thumb, for me to be able to see if I can be able to be profitable on any rental, whatsoever, I need to be able to say, what is the rental in the area? Maybe let's pick an area, for instance, that we can use. I want to just do some quick calculation. So let's pick an area. Which area do? Pick an area for me and quickly find the rental there.
Teresa Park.
Teresa. Okay, TH.
THE.
Okay, Teresa Park. Rent. Okay. So let's see. We are looking at 2-bedroom. Apartment, townhouse, that's fine. Bedrooms, we are looking at 2. Then we search. Okay. You have your 6,200. 7,008. No, this is different place. It's Ogden. Teresa Park. There you go. So I just went to property 24. So you've got your 5,700, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 5,650, 7,000, 6,500, 4,500. They are very diverse. So let's find 5,000. 6,500, 6,500, 5,600. What would you say the medium is? 4,900, 5,100, 5,000. What would you say your average is? Ladies, this is, let's say that's your average for a 2-bedroom. Now, you will come and say, okay, 5,500 is the average rental that I'm going to get. So if we use the measure of already, you are looking at, you are a bit behind there, 5,000, you are looking at 6,000. So you are a bit out. So that's fine. Let's work with that. 5,500. I'll come and say, what's my rental in the area? Divide by, remember, we were looking at, we're saying our rental, whatever rental, we multiply by 1.3. My apology. Multiply by 1.3, which is your debt cover, right? So we are saying my rental, and if we take out the expenses every month, what are we looking at? So it's 55,000 multiplied by 1.3. What do you get?
7,150.
7,150.
7,150. Right. So multiply this by 100. What do you get? Is that correct?
Yeah, 715.
760,000.
Right. So it means for you to be able to charge a rental of 5,500, you need to have bought. Now we will you to see it. You need to have bought it for 715,000. So it means the market price for a 2-bedroom, you'd find that it's ranging around this, but your rentals are quite low. Now let's do it the opposite. Let's do it the opposite. Let's divide 5,500 divide by 1.3. What do you get? What do you get? So like I said, the moment you multiply, you go outside the market. So what do? We divide to reverse the process. So 5.5 divided by 1.3, what do you get?
It's 4,230.
30, like this. Multiply that by 100, how much? That's 4,230. Can I? It means you are looking at. Hello, can I ask that we mute? Can I ask that we mute, please?
Once you got access,
somebody help.
Just finish it the same
Whoa,
day.
whoa.
Yeah. Okay.
Mashiko, please help me mute everyone there, please. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Host, please mute. Thank you. So this is not the way to do it. We divide by 1.3. So it means 423. You are looking at 423. Ooh. Gentlemen and ladies, help me out. Can we just mute everyone, please? Thank you. Rina, if you could help just to mute people. So we are looking at 4,230, which we multiply by 100, it gives us 423,000. It means you need to then build your unit for this price. But if you look at what we have said here, for an affordable unit, you are looking at building it for 461,538. Now, now compare these two. 461,538. It means if you are going to then, if this is what the price of a 2-bedroom unit is, you are then going to have a shortfall because you can't build it at this price, 423. So it means your rental of 5,500 falls because you can't afford to build it at that. The standard is this. This is the standard price of building. Actually, I'll show you, this is actually the minimum, the least you can be able to get. And these numbers are not affordable anymore. We're finding Now for a 2-bedroom unit, you are going at least 480,000 or so. So 461, it's the least and the most minimum you can get. So if you this is what it implies, and you are going to get a rental of 5,500. You are most likely to you are already behind because you can't build it for that. You will have to build it at this price. Now, if you build it at this price and you charge 5,500, what happens? You have to subsidize because you already have a shortfall. Does this make sense?
Yes, that makes sense, yes. Moses. So it is, because I've noticed that people are now building from 500 to around 540 per 2-bed unit affordable. So are you saying those, do you support those numbers? If you are saying now we have to build at around 480, 490, so the 500 to 540, is it still reasonable for affordable housing?
Right.
People are saying it's now very expensive. It's going around those ranges.
Thank you. I'm gonna demonstrate it this way, right? So you have what and value capture. Now, value capture, I normally say this is market. Value creation, it's development. As we said, that the best way is to go through the creation, or at value capture, the value creation is manufacturing or the source. Now, we are saying, Patricia, you are saying you are building it at how much?
Between 500 and 540. You know also why? Because affordable housing now goes up to 820. So we're finding that people are now building it up to 440, maybe even 540, I think even 550, because it has now increased to about 820.
Right. Now let's use that 500, right? And you're right, the prices have become, that 460 was literally a bare minimum. And I'll tell you some of the effects that affect that price, and especially in the development space. Now, if you build it at 500,000, remember here we are developing or building at 500,000, you are looking at now to move it here from value creation to value capture, we multiply. To backwards, we divide. From market, we divide. So here you are looking at your rental. This is sale. So, or building rather, let's say dev cost. So your development cost, we multiply by 1.3. What are we looking at? 1.3.
It's 650,000.
650,000. So supposedly, so it means if you were to sell it, you will sell it for 650,000. Now, 10% of that, that's 6,500. Is that, yeah, 6,500. So it means you are looking at a rental of around 6,500. So it's already above the 6,000. Hence, it justifies, if you're going to build it for 500,000, you can't expect a rental of 6,000. Already, this is what you are looking at.
This is now exciting. So this is now exciting, Moses. So you basically say, oh, sorry, was somebody talking?
Yes,
sorry.
I am.
Okay, sorry.
I can't see you, and unfortunately,
it's okay.
It is able to tell the hand and all that.
Yeah, I wanted to get the rationale behind multiplying the development cost by 30%. Is that what the markup should be as a standard markup, or we are still using the potential costs as a measure for coming up with the total market value of the developed property? If you can just clarify that, I'll appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, so we basically are using, remember, we are coming from a point of view of saying we are not just going to build it and sell. We are looking at operating it and becoming a rental. So the starting point is the market price. So we start from the market to say, what's the rental? So ideally, we start from here, from the red, we go back to the blue. From the market, we go back this side. Because as an investor, your first starting point is, how much will I make if I rent it out at this price? What is the market saying? If the market says 6.5, we will divide and go this side to development. It will give you that 500,000. So if you say 6,500, divide by 1.3, multiply by 100, it will give you 500,000. If you do that, you'll see the same. So now we have started from development to go forward. So we are using the 1.3 as a measure, and you're correct. That's a way of saying, if I'm going to build it, for me to still be profitable as far as rental, to cover that cost, even when I put it out on the rental, I need to make sure that I use the 30% as a measure. And I think we found that to be a method that is consistent across the board. If you are going to make a sale, the markup, like Patricia is saying, and I'm trying to look at my time. Hopefully, I'll be able to show you some of the things when it comes to your construction price and all that. I will probably jump to that quickly. If you look at that, you will realize that the construction price and all that, after the markup, what people will use as a markup will probably range around 30% and actually more. If it's going to around 800,000, for instance, as a sale price, you'd find that they've built it at around 500,000. So the markup, we are using that 1.3 as a way, or that 30% as a markup. And I think that puts it up as a measure. Anything above that will still be able to suffice. But below that, it won't be a good measure. Does it make sense?
I love that, Moses. It's just making it so simple for me now to understand. Also from the fact when you're saying that you need to first look at the rental prices around the area for you to determine how much your development cost unit should be. Because if you start at the development and then decide I'm going to build a unit for 600,000, only to find out that the rental in the area goes for 5,000, then you have lost. So yes. I didn't even think of that. I think that is very, very brilliant, that I need to start at the market itself and then work it from the market backwards to the development, and from there I will come up with realistic numbers. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. So, yes, Postol.
I was saying that I think I fell into the same trap where I bought a house in Teresa Park and renting it out. I had to take it down 3 times because I only realized later that the rentals that are going around there, and nobody was willing to rent it out. So it's an eye-opener. Thank you for this.
You're welcome.
Hey, I'm falling
Any other
behind.
hand before we could move forward?
If you go back to your screen where you were making notes, the red versus the green. There. So I'm not following from the 500,000 to the 650. What are we trying to say here from value creation to value capture, and also coming back to that green? What are we saying here?
So let me track back quickly shortly. So we are saying, in order to and value capture, which is market versus development. And we said that for you to be able to get to a place where, as an investor, you can track how much profitable the property that you are buying it's going to be, you have to start from the market. So you start from the right and say, how much is the rental in the area? In this case, Patricia started from value creation, development price, but let's start from the market. The market, it's 6,500. If the rental is 6,500, you will then divide. Let me use the green so that it will make sense, Bostole. If the rental is 6,500, where is that green? 6,500. You will then, to move it to value creation. Remember, now we have to move it to a place where we are saying, to develop it, how much will it cost? We are going to use that measure of 1.3. We 3, and it will give us how much? 6,500 divided by 1.3. How much is it?
5,000.
5,000. Then you multiply this by 100. How much is it? 500,000. Does it make sense? So
yes,
that's the price. So we are saying, if the rental is below this for affordable, you are already in trouble, because from the value, from the development side, we have already established that you are looking at around 460. Let me just round it off, 460,000, like we calculated earlier. How did we get here? We said your rental in the affordable market is how much? Rule of thumb, 6,000. 6,000 divided by 1.3. It's that 4,615, correct? You multiply this by 100. You multiply this by 100. It will give you 465,1538. I think correct. What's Tole? Are we still together? This line is still there. What's Tole?
Hey, I think let's continue. Let me turn it alone and see.
Moses, let me say it in a layman's language. Because let me say it in a layman's language. Hopefully, Mr. Sithole will be able to understand. Okay, Mr. Sithole, let's say you want to buy or you are deciding whether you should develop your own rental apartment, or you should go and buy an existing one and rent it out. Then you decide on an area where you want to do whether the development or buying existing. So when you decide on an area, you need to go and do a feasibility to understand the area. In this case, you are going to understand what is the normal rental in the area. You will have the minimum and the highest. And then you place yourself, let's say the area is renting from 4.5 to 7.5. Then you decide, okay, I want to bring in units that are renting 6.5 a month. Maybe you saw that there's not many of them, so the market is mainly available in that range. So you need to now decide, do I buy an existing one, or do I build my own and rent them out at 6,500? If you decide 50 probably, mean the rent because you will be the landowner. But now you don't want to subsidize rental people who are renting. So you decide, okay, let me not buy existing, it's too expensive. Let me look at developing it myself. If I want to rent them out for 6,500, how much should I spend to develop that particular unit so that my rental per month can cover for everything, for either the development cost and levies and whatever? So you then go back, that's where Moses was talking about the 6,000. You now take it back to what, 6,000? What do we do, Moses?
So your 6,000, you divide by 1.3?
Yes, then you 6,000 divide by 1.3 multiply by 100.
Right.
And then it comes to how much is it? Let's say it comes to 500,000. So already, so if I develop my own unit, if I don't buy existing, I develop my own, I will need to spend 500,000 to develop it, and my rental is going to be 6,500. So meaning you would have that rental of 6.5 will pay for the bond of 500,000 plus the levy plus every other thing.
Okay.
But if you go and buy an existing one, already you'll get it for 650 and above. Therefore, you will have to subsidize on many other costs.
All right.
So
I think
what you say to us is when you decide whether to buy existing or to build, look at these numbers, and those numbers will guide you as to what to do in that particular area at that particular time.
All right. All right. I think that's much more clear. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be. We can help each other through this. I like this class already. Okay, so thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So now we've established that for affordable, this is what you are looking at. Remember, it's a principle. So let's run with the principle. Then the numbers could change from time to time. But once we understand the principle, we are good. So for affordable, we have established that to build it, if you're going to rent it out for 6,000 and still be able to break even, you need to build 1,500. Now, this is your dev cost. I will just repeat this number again, 461,500. Now, this is equivalent to 1 unit. Do we agree? Which is equivalent to a 2-bedroom unit. Now, what are so this is a development. We are going to develop this unit, 2-bedroom unit. What makes up this unit? To be able to have this unit standing, think about it like a house. What do you need as inputs?
You need the plans.
The plans, yes. Is that the first thing you need?
No, you need the surveyor first. The professional team first.
Okay, the professional team, okay. What else?
The land.
You need the land.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
the
start
land.
with the land. The professional team will be confused. What are we doing here when we don't have a land?
Land, yes.
Okay, what else?
And contractors.
The construction.
Contractor.
Thank you.
So it's labor plus material. Do you agree? So this is what I'm trying to do. I want us to break it down so that we understand how did we get to the 460. We've started from the market. Now we need to understand what constitutes that 460,000. Now we have your land, we have your professional team, we have your contractor. So all these things I'm going to name and your professional team Y, and then your contractor Z. Do we all agree this makes up a unit?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
So let's run with that. So we have your X plus Y plus Z. It's equals to 461,500. Agreed. Now let's deal with the land. Land opportunity cost. When it comes to land, let's deal with Y. Yes? Hello?
Yes. How about time? Because if your time is out, don't costs go up as time increases?
I agree, but I'll tell you how we deal with that. So, for instance, on the contractor, that will be part of what will increase the. So if on construction, when you allocate a time for construction, normally it's a fixed cost contract. Number two, you want to make sure that it's done within a particular period. So if it goes beyond that, that's added costs. So now we are saying at a fixed time. Your land, of course, that will take into account your holding costs. So if you add any of those, it only increases the price that we already have here. This scenario. Does it make sense? Is that TEPO?
Yeah.
Does that TEPO? Okay, right. Best case scenario,
yeah.
461,500. We've already established, I think I'll explain, hopefully I still have time, that this is just the bare minimum. Okay, your land in the affordable space, you are looking at 60,000 per land opportunity cost. So it means to be a land that is able to build 1 unit will cost you 60,000. So if a land can build 60 units, you will pay how much? 60,000 by 10 together. Now, that's what we call land opportunity cost, 60,000. That's in the affordable space. It's your rental multiplied by 10. But I would like us to fix it at 60,000 as a general rule of thumb. In the affordable space, 60,000. Now, professional team. The professional team, you are looking at 30% of dev costs of the development price. So it means if our unit is 461,500, 30% of that would go to your professional team. How much is that? 30%. 6,500 multiplied by 30%. How much is that? Help me out. Are we still together, ladies and gentlemen?
I'm not sure if it's 138,450. My calculator is scientific and I'm not scientific.
It's correct.
Plus your Z. Your Z is your contractor. Let's leave that for now. So you have 60,000 plus 138. So your Z will be 461,500 minus . Okay, let's just calculate 60 plus 138. It will be 19. Is that true? 198,450. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Is that?
And then 461,500
Is that
minus
198,450?
198,450.
We say.
Is it 138 or 198?
198. So it's none. Also, what we did, we said 60,000 plus 130. 450. That gives you 198,450.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
So from here, you take it to the right, you minus. Okay, and what's our total? What are we left with?
263,050.
Okay, this is what you will charge the contractor. 263. This is how much it will cost you to build one unit. I'm using the word to build because that's construction. So now let's break it down. Normally builders will use rate per square meter. Our 2-bedroom unit, we said it's how big is it? We are looking at 50 square meters. Let's break this down. 26305 divided by 050 divided by 50 square meters. How much do you have?
5261 per square meter.
5261. So it's 5,261 per square meter. Oh. Rate per square meter. So it means when you negotiate for a price in terms of affordable housing, 1,261 per square meter. Now, I will show you something. Anyone who's in construction, do you think this is more or less the price per rate per square meter? Or anyone who has recently built an affordable housing? I don't know, who do we have in the audience that can assist us?
That's low, Moses.
That's low.
Yes.
This is low. I agree. I'm hoping to find a picture. Let me see if I can find that picture quickly.
While you are looking at the picture,
okay.
Moses,
yes.
What is the current rate for those who know? Those who are saying it's low, what's usually the average cost?
Okay, let's use this picture. It will help. Okay. Now, this is the cost. This is average value per square meter for building plans passed in 20. This was based on stats numbers from Stats SA. So if you check there is the reference, Stats SA. Selected building statistics of private sector as reported by local government institutions, 2015. Now, I was shocked about this because I actually read a number of articles. Right now, Patricia will tell you we are struggling when it comes to numbers because our financiers were looking at costs at a bit of a lower level. In 2015, a freestanding house, it was 5,932. Do you see that? In Gauteng, it was 6,102 per square meter. Now, if you go to townhouses, you will see 6,800. Now, you move to flats, 8,162. Now, if you go to office spaces, it will be like that. So you can 2016, and I think price-wise, 2 years ago, we were able to achieve this 5,261. based on affordable housing. And that was, when did we do the DON? That was in 2016, actually, yeah. This was based on basic finishes. So it means nothing fancy, no fancy cupboards, kitchens. It's just basic and standard. You could be able to get this price because this includes labor and material. You could get it at this price. But this has actually escalated. I mean, we are talking 2 years later. I think for Naturena, what we are getting is, I'll quickly just check how much it is for Patricia's project. But this one, it's at a basic level rate per square meter. Now, this does not take into account, now these are apartments that if you are looking at apartments, for instance, there are a number of factors that will influence the price above. Your design, your finishes. Your design, it means you don't need corners that don't make sense. You want a simple design, nothing fancy, but just a straightforward, like a long line of apartments. You don't have stairs every second unit. That's a basic as it comes. Your finishes, I have already explained that. Your engineering. This is important. Your engineering, the moment you start having, can I ask somebody to mute that? There's a baby that is speaking English. Or is that English? Okay.
I'm the baby boss.
Oh, okay. If you can mute. So your design, as I said, this is basic. Your design will influence that price. Your finishings will influence that price. So if and all that, it will start increasing above that. Your engineering, that will talk to starting from your foundation. In Gauteng, we have what we call dolomite areas. If you are in, I think you find them somewhere around Ekurhuleni, there are other areas also in Pretoria that are dolomitic. So it means you hardly find a bedrock. Where you could find a bedrock, maybe 100 meters or 200 meters deep, you'd find that you have to dig way deeper to find it, or you end up not finding it. That means you're expensive. And that will normally use piles in that case, or pile. That's your engineering. Number two, activities of, let's say, mechanical, for instance. If you're now going to have your lift, normal 1 to 4 stories or up to 4 stories, it's called walk-ups. You don't need a lift. The moment you go 5 stories, you need a lift. Now, one lift, 1 million. If you get it cheaper at China, maybe they can go around 800. But normally you would find that it's 1 million and upwards. So if you've got just one lift, you have added already 1 million in your development for that, if you think about it. Now, we were calculating here based on 1 unit. So if you think about it, 1 million rand, if we divide 1 million by, say, 50 units, how much will that be? 1 million divided by 50. Divide by 100, it's going to be 10,000, correct?
20,000.
20,000. Yes, 20,000. So it means for every, if you are looking at a 50 unit development, for one lift, you are looking at adding 20,000 to this price. To this price. You see? So now your construction cost goes up by 20,000 because you've added a lift. it's just one of those that I just want us to at least be able to look at. Another factor, I think I've touched on design, finishings, engineering, which also include your mechanical, which is your lift. And now if you are talking student accommodation, your capital costs include your furniture and all that. That just starts to increase that price. You can maybe justify it because the cost or the income is a bit higher. So that's, ladies and gentlemen, almost, I think I'm running out of time, but I think that's the long and short of it. If you look at it, your X, Y, and Z, you need to be able to balance these costs. If you buy land at a higher price, it will definitely increase your development costs. If you pay construction comes at a higher price, it means it will definitely influence your cost per unit. Else it's easier from here to calculate. You multiply that by the number of units, you already know how much it will cost to develop to do a development, whether it's 10-unit development or 100-unit development, you can already calculate. Any questions so far?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, Moses.
Starting can
from, we do, Jose, please? Yes.
Yes, thank you. Starting from per unit at 60,000 when we are calculating the development, we were saying that you must add 30%, which is the development cost. Right, starting from the calculations they just did me, maybe I lost concentration or what. Maybe we can quickly repeat, I'll be happy.
Okay, thank you. We'll touch on that. Alex?
Yes, sir. I wanted to come back to the one figure, 5261.
5261.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's 52610 or 5261. You said that is
this
the,
one.
the
5
over there. Yes, right there.
Yeah.
52. Is it 52610? That's the construction cost.
Sorry, that's not a zero. Yeah, it's supposed to be this.
Okay.
That's a rate per square meter. We have divided by 50 square meters. So in short, if you do your 2-bedroom unit, you make it 60,000. Ne?
Yeah.
Now, if we use this is standard. Now, let me twist things a little bit. Come back to your part, Kosi. If now we know this is the rate, now you decide, I want my 2 bedrooms to be 70 square meters. Then you will say 70 multiplied by 5261. How much will that be?
70 times 5261. 368,270.
368,270. The difference between 263 and 368, it means it will cost you more. The guy you make cost you more to build.
Okay.
The question is, will that translates into your rental? If not, it's not worth it. Does it make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I wanted. Thank you.
All right. So, Jose, back to you on this one. So, 60,000, it's land opportunity. Your Y, it's your professional fees. So, your professionals will charge 30% of your development cost. Are we together? So it means 30% of 461,500. This is what we did here. 461,500 multiplied by 30%. That gives you 138,450.
Yes, which is the development cost. Yes.
No. This 138,450. It's your.
It will be the 30%.
Yes. Makes sense? 30%. So if you say 461,500 multiply by 30%, it will give you this.
But it's giving me a
Try
1.8. Giving me 1.8. Okay, should I use 1.3 or should I use 30% straight?
No, 0.3.
Okay. 1.3.
No, not 1.3, 0.3.
Oh, okay, okay.
Remember, this is not 30%, ladies and gentlemen. This one here, it's a ratio. This 1.3, it's not 30%, it's a ratio. So I don't want you to confuse the two. You will see it doesn't calculate the same way.
So the 30%, we calculate the 30% of 60,000 or 30% of 60,000 will be per unit, isn't it?
We are saying for land, we are covered, it's 60,000. Now we move on to Y. Y is professional fees, correct?
Professional fees, yes.
So I'm saying your professionals will charge about 30% of your development cost. How much is our development cost? 461,500 per unit. Then we multiply that by 0.3. It will give you 138,450.
So what we are trying to get will be the total development cost will be that, and then 60,000 and professional fees.
So it's this 60,000 plus
So
138 plus
to
Z.
get the labor.
Yes, labor and material.
Okay. So this is the one that will be when we've added 60.
Okay.
Yeah. So the 30% plus the land plus whatever, which is going to be labor, which we have to find by minusing it from the total cost.
Yes, that's our Z. That's our Z. It's our labor and material, which is contractors' fees or construction fee.
And then we must get it by firstly knowing how much it's going to cost us. To say that the
so we just do the calculations from here. We don't have to worry. We calculate.
Okay, that will be the land plus 30%.
Which is this one here.
We do not know the question. We do not know the answer
the
yet.
Z.
But then we go to the Z. We do not know how much is the Z. We'll have to find out by calculating, by knowing the total cost. Total cost will be minus 30% and the land. That will give us the Z. I'm not sure if I've explained it. So
basically, it's this what you are looking at here. No, it's exactly what is here. Don't worry about anything outside of this. 60,000 plus your 138 plus your Z. So what you do, you add these two, 60 plus 138. How much do they give you? 19840. Right? So you move it from here to that side, it will be a minus.
Yes.
So you say 461,500 minus 19. It gives you 263,050, and that's it.
Thank you.
So forget this so that it doesn't confuse you.
No, but
okay.
I understand. Thank you. I can see.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the things to actually note here, right? And these are things that we come across in development. You'd find that two-story development, it becomes 3 stories, it starts to justify because it's a balancing effect, as you have seen from the beginning. We need to balance our income versus our inputs. How much it costs to develop has to be justify how much we are going to make. So the other way around. So we start from how much we are going to make and say, how much can you be able to cost us to do this? So to get the right feasibility, you'd find that a 2-story development, it's difficult to, that's the number starts to become shaky, especially in affordable, because the margins are very slim. Number 2, you are looking at 3 stories will work out much better and higher. So if you need to decide between 4-story and 5-story, because of the lift factor, you'd find that you would rather stay at a 4-story instead of adding the 5th floor. Your cost will be much better, because the moment you add the 5th floor, you need a lift, and it adds much more. And the other thing, so from there, it's really a balancing factor, and that's what we are going to do throughout. But the basic calculation is what I've showed you here. Back of cigarette calculations, you can be able to do it. Once you master it, it's quick to be able to do a quick feasibility when you are standing on site or in front of any land, whether you are looking at it over the internet or you are negotiating the price. It's easier that way. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think time is. I hope we've added value. I hope it made sense. I would just ask maybe Bomatamera to just give the last word before we close. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramaburana. Maybe just by show of hands, firstly, I think I really enjoyed personally, maybe I shouldn't even preempt. I just wanted to find out, just by show of hands, those who think they at least got what was happening. Just by show of hands. Yes, I see Patricia. Yes, Octavia. Ntombi, yes. Yes, Mercy. Yes, yes. Okay.
I got something.
You got something.
I can't find my hand, but my hand is up.
Okay.
Me too.
I also can't find my hand. Me too.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's fine.
Thank you. Also. Okay, who can say honestly this sounded like Greek to me? We can all put our hands down. I just want people who say, you know what, this just reminded me of solving for X in grade 9.
For me, I believe it needs more practice.
It needs more practice. Yes, I see. Thank you, Miriam, all the way from Dubai. She's saying it sounds like Greek to me. I thought you would say it sounds like Dubaian. Bostole, I thought you would be the one who is mastering these things because you're an industrial engineer.
I'm supporting my wife.
I see. Ladies and gentlemen, I think in these are the kind of things that are at the heart of what we say we do as MoMA. And we are convinced that mastering these, whether you are an estate agent, no matter how long it takes, if you can understand these things, you will be able to get to a point where you can decide whether a project works or not. Now, what we are looking at here, and I think I should just mention this, is that we have almost 2 categories. There are those who are aspiring developers, and for them, some of these have become a lot more easier because they've gone through some of these programs and they've called us and said, I have this land, but it's costing this much, and we remind them of some of these calculations. But there might be those who have never attended any of our sessions where we talk about the economics of property and all of that. But these are the fundamentals. I believe just because of that gap, from an estate agent point of view, these might sound like it's not important, but it's important in that it is the estate agents who are the value creators. Those are the people who need to help the developers, for instance, name the opportunity, the right opportunity. If you understand these things, When someone tell you that I'm selling a piece of land and it's R1 million and it's in wherever it is, whether the land is in New York or in Gauteng or in Venda, the first thing you look at is how much is the rental in that area. If they tell you it's 5,000, you discount it by 1.3. Then you have how much that person should be buying that land for, or whether it's, and then we won't be able to finish this in one day. But I think what Moss has just done here is in the last hour, 30 minutes, was to lay the foundation. I believe we need to have more of these conversations until they can stick, until they can become so easy for anyone to understand. Because whether you are selling a property or you are developing or you are renting properties, for instance, or you are helping someone else rent, developers will come and say, listen, there's always a discrepancy. The seller is always thinking that they're sitting on gold. The buyers, who are most of us here as developers, we always think what the seller wants, what the seller really has, it's pumpkins. He's thinking it's gold, and we are really trying to come to a point where we can say, this is actually a bronze. So that whole negotiation, once you understand X, Y, Z, you will know where your cost drivers, so much so that even when you miss it, you will know where you need to look for to miss it. There are some of the complex things that starts to come into play as you develop more, both in your skills and understanding, and even ourselves as we are growing. We get surprises on an ongoing basis, and that's why I'm saying this cannot be concluded in one single conversation. What I would like to suggest, Borama Blana, is that let's compute these things that we have just done today, perhaps in a write-up format, and we can submit to everyone. But I would suggest that we continue having these conversations, even if it means we do the same next week, Thursday. It won't be from the same angle. It would be from the point of view, how do you decide how many units you need to have? How do you decide what sizes of units you need to have? There are metrics that we have created, and we believe that are very helpful. How do you decide whether to invest? Some of us, I know, by the time you come to us, you come with developments, whether you are in Bochum or wherever village you might be coming from. We always want to play village tycoon. How do you decide that it's not worth it to buy a land just because it's cheaper and because it's in your hometown? Those are some of the conversations I would still want us to have, to say it needs to make economic sense. I've had some of the conversation where people say, I don't mind, I'm buying this building or this property because it's not for business. It's my home. It still needs to make economic sense. And that's where the word economics of property come from. So you can't go and say you're going to buy a property of 2 million rands when Lightstone is telling you that in the place where you're buying the properties are going for 2 million rands on average. If you know what we are telling you now, if you do that, it will now be by choice. It won't be because of ignorance. What do? You go to a market and they tell you, find that the average selling price in the area for the same kind of house is 2 million. You discount it by 1.3. That becomes like your starting point. You can't buy that property for more than what it would be. And that's why I'm saying what you have now gathered, it's probably just 1/10 of what I believe if you are getting out of this course, you shouldn't miss. And that is understanding the economics of property. Would you agree with me that we should have more of this, or you think I've just added to, if Moses was talking about solving for X, I've just added logarithms?
Yeah,
We need
perfect.
more.
We need more.
Yes.
Dandy, do you mind if I say something?
Yes.
I think it is definitely a need in the market for commercial development estate agents. Just listen and know what we are doing here and what MUMA is doing and offering for their mentees. There is definitely a big need in the market for more development agents. Let me just mute there. Development agents. Because the agents that's in the market, some of them or most of them pretend they know what they're doing. And, you know, you learn by, as you work, that the way that we do it here, there's no course at the moment that can offer you that. So we will be unique and our agents will be unique to offer this to the public.
Yes, well said. I think that just sums up my view of what kind of level of caliber of property practitioners we need to be. It's very unique value propositions. There are many agents who are well qualified, but they still don't really fully comprehend. I think there you have really hit it on the spot, Rina. Thank you for that input. Can you help me appreciate Moss for all the trouble of explaining all those many difficult things and in a very unique, easier way that even Mr. Hosi is saying, yeah, I got something. Please help me just appreciate as we conclude. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes today. I think let's aim for a more a follow-up perhaps next week. I'm having a conversation with my mentor. His name is Victor Mpigarare. He's the guy who helped me did probably the biggest project that we have at the moment. He was a mentor for GPF. I'm hoping to get him on board and just talk about the whole funding. You might have been hearing too much from me and Moses and Rina and all of that, but I think we need to bring fresh views. So I am having a conversation with him that he should come and present just the whole funding possibilities. How do we go around packaging deals? Just a different view for those of you who have done some projects and have projects that are fully funded. It may not be anything new, but for those who are still aspiring, I believe you will have a fresh perspective, and we will let you know when that would be. I thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.